Hello and welcome to another lesson on soundproofing. Today I'm doing something I've never done before, but I had someone in our community reach out and say, hey, have you ever done a reaction video and will you do one to this video? And I've never done a reaction video, but I kind of like the idea. And this video might be one that you've actually seen. It's a Home RenoVision, and he's got 3.5 million followers or something like that. And he does occasionally do soundproof videos. And this one, I watched and was particularly irked by it. I wasn't necessarily mad, but I was definitely just annoyed that, you know, someone with such a huge following, such a huge reach, is actually perpetuating a lot of stuff that is wrong, incorrect, or just inefficient in its way of soundproofing a room. I am going to go through this video and show you what I do and don't like with his designs, and try to help kind of dispel some of the problems with what he's teaching everyone on YouTube about how to soundproof rooms. Before I jump in, I do have a free resource for you. This is my free soundproofing workshop. So if you're interested in soundproofing a room correctly and right the first time, definitely check it out because it'll go in depth into how to properly sound treat a room from start to finish. So to check that out, just go to soundproofyourstudio.com/workshop. That's soundproofyourstudio.com/workshop. All right, let's jump into this reaction video. This is gonna be fun, and I'll be nice. I'll be nice to good old Home RenoVision over here, or Home RenoVision, but. This is going to be a good one. All right, here we go.
Nice and tight to the box, so you're not going to affect your drywall installation.
Okay, so he starts off the video. This is great. You know, you want to use putty pads. He's right. Buy the real putty pads. Don't skimp on this. Wrap it as well as you can all the way around the boxes. And this works for your lighting fixtures as well. So this is all good.
There we are. As you can see, this is R20 fiberglass insulation. It is the next gen fiberglass though, okay? So I recommend wearing some kind of a mask when you're working with it. But the reality is you can see a couple fibers flying around. For the most part, this stuff is not.
He's pretty funny.
Okay, it is a lot nicer to work with than the old generation stuff. You're gonna want to put an R20 or at least an R14 bat in the wall. It's okay if it gets compressed.
Okay. So he's right about this. R14 is fine. If it's a non-thermal wall, try to go with the cheapest insulation. He says it doesn't matter if it gets compressed. I disagree with this. You want the insulation to remain in its natural fluffy state to help with the soundproofing, meaning that we're trying to absorb sound that's getting bounced back and forth inside our wall cavity. If we compress the rock wool too much, or I say rock wool, if we compress the insulation too much, it won't function as well as insulation, so you won't get as much thermal help as you need, but it also is going to ruin its ability to suck up sound and turn it into heat, which is kind of what it's there for in the first place. So I don't agree with him. I think you should get your sized cavities correct for the insulation. So if you have 2x4s, get insulation that fits 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x8s, you name it. Or if you have a double wall system, you can get insulation that fits through the double wall system.
Looking for mass, not for thermal break. So if you put an R20 insulation here and it compresses, because R20 is for
He also says you're looking for mass. Insulation doesn't weigh anything. We all know that. We've picked it up. That's not what the insulation is doing in a soundproof wall. So that's incorrect.
A 2x6 wall, you put it under compression, that's okay, because you have the same mass in the wall. We're going to just fill up all of our cavities, and that's going to be step one. So step one is this in the wall. In the ceiling, though, we're going to go double layer. We want as much mass as possible when we're thinking about an acoustical environment, and that's why we're going to go 2 layers in the ceiling, 1 in the walls, and then we're also going to be adding the Sonopan.
I hate Sonopan. I shouldn't say hate, that's a strong word, but this is driving me crazy, and I'll talk more about it. I have a video I'll leave in the description about why I think Sonopan is a huge waste of money. I think that they're misleading their customers, and I think RenoVision over here is also misleading everybody into buying it. It's huge in Canada. He's Canadian. It's going to come to the US eventually, I think, and it's going to be a problem because it doesn't have any mass, really. It's flimsy. You can see it. What it is just more insulation. It's like a particle board that's really good at absorbing sound, apparently, although I haven't seen the absorption coefficient charts. So it's all science in the end. Don't be fooled by clever marketing. You know, these guys are marketing geniuses. They know what they're doing. So be very careful. I don't agree with Sonopan. Do not use it. Waste of money. So you're going to see that throughout this whole video.
There's 2 other issues I'm going to just point out real quick. One is the insulation. Now, I know that there's lots of people on the market, and they will talk about using mineral wool for doing soundproofing.
Agree with him. Don't use mineral wool. Use the cheapest insulation you can. rock wool is a common higher end insulation. People like to use it. If you want to buy the higher insulation for insulating purposes, for heating and cooling your home, by all means do it. It's not going to help you with soundproofing.
Because my client wants pot lights, and when you're soundproofing this room, you have to create a layer of soundproofing, and then you have to build inside that. So what we're going to do is, after we get the green board up, we're going to actually strap the ceiling again with 2x3s. We'll create an 1.5 inch space so that we can drill out the location for the pot lights, and after the green board is up, the electrician's going to come back and run the wire for the locations. And then we'll come back in here, we'll install the drywall, drill the holes, and all of that wiring will be on this side of the soundproofing barrier. And so our drywall is going to be fire rated, and that'll have lots of mass in it, and that'll be part of the solution, but the green board isn't going to have any holes or any air leaks, and that is going to make the biggest difference in that transfer of noise from this room upstairs.
Okay, this is where it gets way off course, and this is what drives me a little crazy. So he's not really soundproofing. What he's doing is adding more and more insulation. The insulation is helping a little bit with muffling the sound. The green board's probably muffling the sound a little bit because it's extra insulation. But he never decoupled his ceiling from the drywall, which is crucial to soundproofing. So he's doing almost everything right, but missing one of the key aspects of soundproofing, which is decoupling or taking your drywall off of the ceiling. And the best way to do that in this situation, since the ceiling height is limited, is to actually use acoustic clips, which are super cheap and easy to do, and hat channels, which I use in all the studios that I design a lot of the time when I don't have enough space to do an independently framed ceiling. So this is really wrong. And then he's also doing his client a disservice by not actually using the hat channels and acoustic clips on his walls and decoupling his walls. So to do this right, I would say you need to use the hat channels and acoustic clips on the ceiling, you need to use them on the walls, and you need to use 2 layers of 5/8 inch Type X fire-rated drywall on all surfaces, the ceiling and the walls, because it's a complete unit. Sound will still go up through the sidewalls and up into the house above, not just the ceiling. So everything he's doing here, his thinking is a little flawed, which is very common with contractors, I find. No shade on him. It's just like, you haven't read the books, probably. You haven't done the research. You've never worked in commercial recording studios. There's just a lot of things. And then you get Sonopan, and you probably talk to the reps at Sonopan, and blah, blah, blah. It becomes this self-perpetuating thing where you give people decent results, but the real problem is that he could get way better results for the same or less money by doing it right the first time. So that's why I'm a little upset about this, is this guy, I think, got, ripped off by this project. This is completely wrong here. He can add these furring channels, but it won't do anything. The other thing I got to show you is he mentioned the downlights. The client wanted downlights. That's not a problem at all. Downlights are great. These are the Philips Hue lights here. These are super slim. They're expensive, but if you're building a recording studio or a home theater and you have the budget, these are awesome. They're super slim. You can easily place them into the drywall itself and have a single cord coming down through your drywall, a tiny little thing that you just use acoustic sealant around. A cheaper option is what I use in my studio. These are called Halo lights at Home Depot. You can get 2 of them for $60, so not that much, they're half as much money. But these, you put a little J box in behind them, and they put the putty pad over the J box, and you're good to go. So again, there's solutions. There's even a better solution for this system, which is he could, if he knew a lot about acoustics, which again, these contractors don't know anything about acoustics usually, is that you could build an acoustic cloud for this home theater and then put the downlights inside the acoustic cloud and just have single electrical wire that would go down to your downlights. And that would be a smaller opening in your ceiling cavity for the soundproofing side of things. So there's a lot to think about here, and I'm not in agreement on that stuff.
This is what we're dealing with. In construction, we can't have that. That's my exterior wall. Now you'll see that around here, they've got this purple foam. When they built this house, before they did the insulation and the rim joist, they did a thin layer of spray foam around the entire rim joist, just to create that perfect air seal on that part of the house. But this should be lifted back up into position, because I know it fits. I just know that whatever happened, it's slumped. And just because I'm gonna make sure, I can't afford to have an issue here. Double check, yeah, this one's slumped too. There we go. Now we got good contact.
He is right. It's good to fix your insulation, make sure there's no major holes in between where the insulation is. But again, you know, the mass, the 2 layers of drywall on top of this and the ceiling and the decoupling would do way more than just trying to fix your insulation. I think he's putting, like a lot of people, they put way too much effort on the soundproofing coming from the insulation itself and not the actual whole system working together as a soundproofing system.
Okay. Just get it in, get it on, and get it done.
So he's right here. You know, you want to, I don't like the Sonopan, but assuming that that was actually 5/8 inch drywall there and it was being attached to the clips, which would have been correct. Or I think I saw it in previous, if he had framed this inside wall up against the existing concrete wall, they could have left a 1-inch air gap, and then that new framed wall could have been the independently framed wall. You wouldn't need acoustic clips at all. So there's a lot of things that you could have done differently to greatly improve the soundproofing of this room. The sealant he's using, I'm not totally sure what it is. It looks like it's black. I usually just recommend something that is rated as an acoustic sealant. The key to acoustic sealant is that it remains flexible for the entirety of the life of the room. So regular sealants that are cheaper, not rated as acoustic sealants, they'll crack and eventually leave little holes, and sound will get through those, whereas flexible sealants should remain flexible as the room shifts over time, and you won't get cracks. So that's the idea there. And I like to just put it on my first layer and then my second layer with some backer rod in between, and I have other videos on how to do all that.
And so when you reach up, acts as a little door handle. So as long as that screws in the middle, you know you're going to have a good seal. Okay, there we go. So now we've got our green board in place. We've got an ability to access that. We know when we put our drywall over, we're just going to cut an 8x8 hole here. That's problem solved. We got the ductwork solved. We got that solved. I think now it's time to throw up our first sheet of drywall. But first, before the drywall, I've got to put a couple more pieces of the green board on the soffit. One step at a time, Jeff. Don't get ahead of yourself. We want to have a nice tight seal here. So we'll get another piece underneath, a couple pieces on the side, and we'll jump into some drywall. You'll be able to.
All right, so the HVAC system and the soffit and all this stuff is a huge problem with most rooms. What he's doing here, he needs an access panel. All that's going to be very tricky regardless. What he's created as an access panel doesn't make any sense to me. There's no way that's going to be soundproof, and you know, maybe it's soundproof enough for this project, but for a professional studio this would never fly. But basically you have to build a decoupled soffit around these ducts, and then you need to insulate around these ducts just with, you know, the regular pink insulation, and then put your 2 layers of 5/8 inch drywall, ideally on all the sides around the ductwork, so that the ductwork is in itself an insulated cavity. So what he's doing here doesn't make sense to me. Again, the Sonopan doesn't make sense to me, but he is on the right track with trying to seal everything up, make sure everything's airtight. That is correct.
80-inch slab. This is like 84, I think. This is great if you're doing a project and you want to have a surface barn door on the rollers. Right now they're making these things. You don't have to construct your own. We're going to actually cut this down just a touch. I love the width. Don't forget, my vision for this is to have the door sticking out about 3.5 inches and then have a nice handle on each side. So you can just close it and open it from either side, and it's not going to be recessed inside the wall 100%. I always just found.
Okay, so I've had clients reach out to me who want barn doors that are soundproof. It's potentially possible, going to be very hard, and you'll never get as soundproof of a door as a communicating double door system with proper seals and proper weight. These barn doors are made out of solid wood, so they might have some mass, but there's nothing soundproof about this door system here. For a professional recording studio, this would be a terrible idea. For a home theater that wanted to truly block out subwoofer bass and not have it disrupt the room upstairs, this would never work. It might look cool, but there's really no way without doing some serious crazy engineering to try to make sure that when the barn doors are closed, you actually have a full seal around them, and then also making sure your barn doors weigh as much as the amount of double drywall on your walls, meaning each barn door has to weigh like around 125 pounds. That is an important part of soundproofing, and he doesn't do any of that here in this video. So the doors, in my opinion, are not soundproof. They're just regular doors.
There's the doors.
They're nice doors.
We're here
nice.
in the finished theater room. Now it's time for our sound test. Now the way we're going to do this is simple. We've got a little DeWalt stereo here, job site radio. We're going to play some music, and we're going to step outside, and we're going to play it again, and we're going to go upstairs and play it again, so that you can hear the difference in how much noise is going through the house from my microphone. All right? Here we go. All right, now that's pretty comfortable, but it's loud. Not bad with the doors closed, eh?
Not great either.
In the room directly above it. All right, there we go, guys. Now you can still hear it a little bit, right? No soundproofing system is perfect when you're in a house with central heating and air. Because right this room, we have 3 pieces of ductwork that tie together with that main trunk line from that room downstairs. Unfortunately, this is the expectation. Now, if you're a bunch of people hanging out in the living room watching another movie, this is not going to bother you. This is just a little bit of background noise. It's not the end of the world. So, no, we're not making it so you can't hear what's going on. We're making it so that it doesn't affect you in another space in the house. And
I agree with him on this point here, and you know, maybe the client's happy at the end of the day, and everyone's happy, and maybe there's a point that, okay, everyone's happy, and it was a good job, well done. I think my argument is that for less money with the decoupled clips, he would have gotten even better results. Certainly with the door, if the client demanded a barn door, okay, you got to do what you can do. But ultimately, I think you could have gotten way better results where you don't hear that stereo. Again, that stereo has, let's say, 6-inch double speakers. The low end on those can simply not go that low. So we don't even know what the bass sounds like. If you put a subwoofer in there and they're watching a movie with, you know, a home theater system, you're definitely going to hear it upstairs. Like, there's just no way around it. So I would argue that a lot of that was a waste of money and a waste of time. The ductwork is a huge weak point in the system. In fact, it bypasses the entire soundproof system altogether. So to fix that, you would need some sort of baffle box before the sound enters up into the actual upstairs room. So the air that's coming directly in and out of that room needs to be either insulated and ran a long ways, and that could mean an entire redo of the HVAC system for that room, which is part of soundproofing. That's part of the process. So I think simply just putting up Sonopan, putting a ton of insulation in there is really just not soundproofing correctly at all. All right, so I was a little hard on him, a little harder than I wanted to be. I respect contractors, especially Home RenoVision. They've built a massive following, massive channel. He's clearly very good as a contractor. My qualm is always with the soundproofing techniques, the knowledge. You know, you just buy a couple books, you read them, and you learn that what you're doing doesn't make any sense. So there's part of me that's like kind of annoyed by that there's this like, oh, I just go out and buy the materials and build these things and people pay me for it and it's great. But you know, it's not the way to do it. So if you are interested in doing it the correct way, definitely check out that free soundproofing workshop. You just go to soundproofyourstudio.com/workshop and you can watch it right away. 45 minutes in-depth teaching, kind of giving away the best of my knowledge in one complete little workshop for you. And, you know, next week, every week I come out with a new soundproofing or acoustic treatment video focused mainly on home recording studios. But, you know, if you're building a soundproof room in general, like this person doing a home theater, all the same concepts apply. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week.